Loading, please wait. Hi everyone. Let me start by saying I'm doing this video for Molly Smith, who does a radio show called From the Median. I'm also doing this for other Right to Life agencies in Ohio. I thought about simply requesting to be on the show, but then I would have to work out transportation. Plus, if people are not familiar with how a non-speaking person such as myself communicates, it can be a bit awkward. So I decided to do a video where people can see me and read along as I speak using synthetic speech. Of course, if this ends up on the radio, you listeners will only hear this. Let me start with who I am. My legal name is Snoopy Botten, Snoopy, S-N-O-O-P-I, Botten, B-O-T-T-E-N. And my name is an acronym. The letters stand for someone needs one other person indefinitely, because of the tiny emotional nails. I will get into that a little later. I am 55 years old, and I never like how this is worded, but I was born with cerebral palsy. The wording is misleading because when I was born, a part of my brain called the cerebellum was damaged from lack of oxygen. As a result, I have muscle spasms all the time, and my speech is hard to understand. Now, to society, this is a big deal, and they see me as disabled. But to me, I'm just differently abled. My lack of walking is compensated by a wheelchair, and it should be obvious how I speak. However, if you are watching this video, this is not my normal keyboard. I'm just making a fast video that I can easily edit and drop things in. I do all of my audio and video work. I actually started back in 1989, when I got interested in programming speech software to sing. At first I got laughed at because it was thought to be impossible. But I studied music, linguistics, singing, milliseconds, and just a whole bunch of stuff just to get started. And when I emerged 5 years later as a synthetic singer, I also stumbled into the world of AAC, which stands for Augmentative Alternative Communication. I soon discovered I had a knack for comedy, as well as public speaking. So I have co-taught classes on special equipment, and how to do evaluations. I've also done keynote speaking, as well as gave concerts all over the country. To date I have 18 albums out, all of which are free downloads from my website, www.theflameofhope.co. Then just go into the store through the menu on the left, and once inside the store, select CDs. Then you can select an album, then download all tracks.zip. Or, you can just play each track. I'm always doing new stuff. My new stuff I post on Facebook. I'd say I do at least a song a week. I do them mostly so that kids and adults have a way to sing. I have roughly 1,200 songs, maybe 1,300. I feel like if I don't have a particular song that someone wants, I don't have enough songs. I do solos, duets, trios, and so on. I mostly do gospel, because God is the most important thing to me. Now of course today, you all can wow over everything I have mentioned. I do far more things, and you all can find my other videos on YouTube. I seriously never stop. But back in 1964, I was almost stopped. My biological mother, Brenda Botten, went out on a date, and one thing led to another. 11 weeks later, her parents discovered she was pregnant and took her to an abortion clinic. The one and only thing that saved my life was, back in 1964, abortions were not done past the 10th week. That's the only reason why I'm here. But that wasn't the only hurdle. I was born prematurely on December 11, 1964 in Duluth, Minnesota. And I was not breathing. Of course this was all told to me later in life, but because I had gone so long without oxygen, I was thought to be brain dead. And this is where I get confused because, after I started breathing, I started crying for food. But Because I was considered brain dead, I was supposed to be starved to death. Now, how does a supposedly brain-dead baby cry for food? Lucky for me, no one could ignore my cries for food. Finally, when I was 6 months old, a foster home took me in. I got fed, but I was abused. I won't get into the abuse because my topic is abortion. I was age 4 before it was figured out that I have cerebral palsy. But because I couldn't communicate, it was assumed that I was severely retarded. Thankfully, that wasn't the case. But here's the medical breakdown. Doctors don't track disabled babies. So, if a doctor has the assumption that babies who have a disability grow to be a burden on society, the parents of that child are not given any hope or expectations. Do you remember my acronym? Someone needs one other person indefinitely because of the tiny emotional nails. Well, I wouldn't call having no hope for a child a tiny emotional nail. It's more like a huge emotional nail. But, to that level in that medical field, looking through their eyes, your newborn is a tiny emotional nail that you will give up on in time. And as far as I know, that hasn't changed. It's up to the parents to do the initial research and find the right person who can restore their expectations for their child, and the need for one other person goes on indefinitely throughout everyone's lives. Fortunately, as the child gets older, it gets easier to get connected to resources and special equipment and testing. But because society has totally the wrong impression, especially in Ohio, it's sadly why we are viewed as burdens rather than contributors to society. I travel a lot. My favorite state is Pennsylvania. I live in Warren, Ohio, so I'm not far from the border. Whenever I'm in Pennsylvania, people talk directly to me and wait for my response. If I'm in a restaurant, I get handed a menu. If I'm in a store, I get asked if I need help, and I'm just viewed as a person. But here in Ohio, it's totally different. People tend to talk to the person I'm with, rather than directly to me. There have been times when I'll go into a restaurant, and I won't get a menu because people assume I can't read. Most stores totally ignore me, and it's just totally different. I think it's because in Pennsylvania, the public is better educated on disabilities rather than Ohio. And it scares me. I grew up in Minnesota and went to a school in Minneapolis where we were all disabled, but were treated like regular kids. So the expectations for school work were equal to a regular school. So I feel I was lucky to have had that good of an education. Here in Ohio, I got to see different classrooms for the disabled. Now, in first grade, they were teaching things like the alphabet, numbers, colors, and the basic kid stuff. Then the second grade classroom had basically the same stuff. I just thought it was just to help the kids adjust to a new grade after summer break before introducing new stuff to learn. But by the time I saw the 12th grade classroom, I was speechless. Same alphabet, same numbers, and so on. It blew my mind. They had no hope for high school because of all the things they weren't being taught, and their only future was working in a sheltered workshop. It made me sick because that's not what I would call an equal education. I feel this all relates to abortions because if the public's perceptions in Ohio are this low, it must have an impact on the abortion rate. And let me stop and say to the listeners and or viewers, if you have been through a similar situation, you are not at fault. As long as you went by the information you had at hand, you did not make a mistake. I want you to take that in. Whatever the situation was that you were in, you made the best decision you could at the time. So if you blame yourself for the past, please forgive yourself, get educated, and help someone else by preventing them from making the same choice you did. And if you were pregnant, please, give your child the chance to impact the world. Give that child a lifetime of choices, by choosing to give that child life. I said earlier that I'm now 55. What I didn't say was, I now have neuropathy, inactive chronic leukemia, as well as other health issues. I almost died 3 times. My body is slowing down and I have days where it hurts too much to get out of bed. But my mind is still active. I'm still trying to do my usual amount of work, only with flexible deadlines. I'm self-employed, so I can do that. I have spent my life giving the non-speaking population voices to sing with. But I have not been a voice for the unborn. In today's world, when abortions can be done far past the 11th week, I would not be here. I'm just one person, yet I have inspired so many lives worldwide. But what if there was no Snoopy button? What if the disabled community never sang a song because I wasn't here? What if some unknown person wasn't inspired by me because I wasn't here? We all leave handprints in life that affect society. If I asked any of you to tell about an important day when you were in school, that would be easy. But have you ever thought about the impact on the people around you? That's a handprint. And every day we leave handprints by how we motivate the people around you. Have you ever made a handprint and hung it on a wall or on a refrigerator? I bet it still makes you smile. But what if your handprint never existed? What if it was never on a wall or a refrigerator? And what if your handprint never existed in the form of inspiring those around you? That is what you take away when you have an abortion. True, you have a right to your own body. But what about society as a body? Don't they have the right to know how the life inside you can influence theirs? Every heart matters. Every life matters. I want to end with a song I wrote with the help of Mike Boss. This is not the usual speech software I use. I'm using this speech software only because it highlights as it reads. I usually use a speech software called Talk, which was created back in the 80s by Dennis Klatt and a team at MIT. With Talk, I can create billions of voices, male and female, and program them all to sing. I do songs in English, Spanish, French, and Latin. Back in 1999, Mike and I recorded an album of original songs that were written by me. I don't play the piano or anything. Well, I kind of do, but only to help me find keys and notes. So, I programmed the words and the melody lines, and Mike did the chords and the music. This particular song was actually co-written by Mary Rockwood. I had wrote the words to the song, but I had just started music classes and knew nothing about the music scale or anything. So Mary took the words home and the melody came to her in a dream, and being she didn't know music either, she sang it into a tape recorder. Then after I learned music and was working on the album, I got the tape out, programmed it, and we included it on the album Words of Love. So this song is called First Call on Jesus, and I did it in a child-sounding voice as a reminder that we are to have childlike faith.
First call on Jesus, and He will be there. First call on Jesus, and He will be there. And if you need hope, Jesus is there. First call on Jesus, and He will be there. And if you need peace, Jesus is there. First call on Jesus, and He will be there. And if you need joy, Jesus is there. 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 Jesus is there.